Okay, Brian. How do you think that we have improved in the field of dialysis with your experience, 1966 and 2009?
As if we have improved immensely. Dialysis, like I said, we're down to 3 sessions for 4 hours a week. Transplantation, we've just escalated. Because at one time you had to be a relative, somebody with a very close blood match. But now a husband can donate a kidney to his wife, and vice versa, because we have immune suppressant drugs which can take care of this, you know, and the kidney can last 10 to 15 years. That's not from a relative, which is, you know, we've come a long way. With the use of modern drugs and technology, we've come a long way in the transplant field.
In terms of medicines, because your experiences span over 30, 40 years on it, what is the most remarkable medicine that has been in the market?
The most remarkable one that I can think of is a drug called Eporex. At one time, we were all open to transfusions. And being on dialysis, you were always anemic. You were always having numerous transfusions. But now we've overcome that. There's a synthetic drug which was made about 17, 18 years ago. It's called Eporex, Rocomon. There's so many other names for it. Now this is a synthetic drug which raises one's hemoglobin. So one doesn't have to have these transfusions. Because, you know, at one time, transfusions, you were taking a gamble because we didn't know anything about Hep C. Now Hep C is a killer. Hep B, yes, we contracted, and, you know, one was immunized against it with a substance called gamma globulin. But Hep C, they didn't know about Hep C, so one was open. The more transfusions you had, the more you were open to this thing, but they didn't know about it. So I contracted it, unfortunately, but fortunately for me, it's been lying dormant. It's not active. So that's a good thing on, you know. And in other ways, like transplantation, there's, you know, the sky's the limit now.
Okay. In terms of the medical equipment, we talk about the medicines, you said it. In terms of the equipment, because before you said it, you have been there for 14 hours a day, twice a week, up to 70s, and now your sessions are 4 hours a day, 3 times a week.
3 times a week. That's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's it. So I have the weekends off.
Okay.
And but you see, at the moment, I also contracted, due to no fault of mine, a TB of the bones, and this from about 56 kilos has taken me right down to about to 46, 47.
Why? Is it a side effect of the...
Well, it's TB of the bones, you see. It could have been a lot worse, and I could have contracted TB of the lungs. But I was treated for it, and it's been about 1.5 years now, and I think I'm clear. But there are other mishaps, you know, like I'm going back to when I had my kidneys out, because I was only on dialysis for a few months and they couldn't bring my blood pressure down. So they thought, well, let's try removing his kidneys and see if it helps. And it did. My blood pressure dropped immensely. And I started getting better. Before that, I lost interest in everything, you know. Because, you know, I was a young man, and, you know...
20 years is too early for that.
Yeah, you know, I was a young, fit man, and then just to deteriorate so rapidly, you know, it was rather a shock to the system. But since then, thank God, I'm here generally to tell the whole world that, you know, dialysis is a godsend. And whoever invented it, I know Professor de Gordon brought it to Europe, but before that, I think it was invented in America, Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah, and he went there, and, you know, got this zest of things. But when he came back, he continued. But we have progressed. It's just unbelievable how...
All your experiences, you have written a book as well, Brian.
Oh yes.
Tell us something about your book.
When I was Britain's longest surviving patient, I decided, well, I always asked questions when I was on as a young chap in dialysis, and somehow, you know, it registered. And my faculties are extremely sharp. I remember everything that happened from day one, from the time I contracted my illness to the present time.
Okay.
And I thought, well, let's compile a book of this. Okay, I did write about my mishaps in life, like my marriages which went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the book was initially to tell patients in my condition, or in my predicament, that all is not lost. You know, one could survive.
Okay.
Just depends on your willpower, like I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I published a book.
Okay.
It's called Chronic Kidney Failure, Treatment and Diet. It's by Brian Tocher.
Okay.
And this was 8 years ago. But since then, I must gladly tell you that 2 years ago I got into the Guinness World Records.
Oh, right. Congratulations. How did this happen? Is it through your medical people?
Well, no, it was through a friend, a mutual friend of mine, and she said, oh, my mother was in the Guinness Book of Records for doing a parachute jump at the age of 75.
Oh, right.
And she said, Brian, I think this is a bit of a feat for you. You know, you've achieved something which nobody has.
Okay.
So she said she wrote off to the Guinness Book of Records, and then they wanted proof from my consultant, which they got, and I entered the Guinness World Records in, what was it, 2 years ago?
Okay.
And I think I'm still the world's record holder. And thanks to God.
Okay.
Thanks to
What was the previous record that you've broken?
in what field?
In dialysis?
Dialysis, I think there was a chap by the name of, he was Brian too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he came from Scotland, but he lasted 25 years.
Oh, right.
And he died.
Okay.
But unfortunately, beaten him hands down.
Okay.
But it's only by, like I said, through God's grace.
So you are at present the world's longest survival on dialysis. Okay.
Thanks
You have
be to
written a
God.
book. You have
Yes.
written a book. Would you like to say anything what you like to the people, those who are affected by the kidney problems, dialysis nowadays? Because you said it's more to your determination and less to your treatment.
You see, one contracts, you know, people from all walks of life lose their kidneys. Diabetics, the eventual stage of diabetes, causes kidney trouble. Hypertension, which is blood pressure, that can lead to kidney problems, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I say is never give up. Always have hope and faith. And read my book. Because it tells you in detail, I talk about the diet, I talk about a lot of things that could help you to achieve your goal in life, you know. And not to give up so easily. You know, have more determination. And don't think, okay, I've contracted kidney trouble, this is the end. It's not, you know. It's just, it's something one has to live with.
Okay. And you have built upon your life with this reality. Brian, do you think you are lucky enough to be in Britain, to be British, to survive
yes,
on
you see,
that?
because I said, you know, I'm born of British parentage.
Okay.
And as soon as I finished my high school in Bangalore, my father said, well, you've got to go back home, because all my brothers were in England, you see.
Okay.
So I arrived in Leicester, and I stayed there for about 3 months, and I had a brother who was a car salesman in London.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him to find me a room, and I moved to London, and I was fortunate enough to get into a printing trade,
Okay.
you know, as an apprentice. And I'm very fortunate, because to be quite honest, as if you were in India, the people dying every day, because you just can't afford to, the running costs. And they use one dialyzer, which is the artificial kidney, for 7 to 10 treatments.
Oh.
All they do is keep rinsing it out with a weak solution of formaldehyde, which is a sterilizing agent. But, you know, now we're in Britain.
Have you ever
know.
thought about, you're born in India and the situations of dialysis and the patients and problems? Have you ever thought about, with your experiences, you want to do something?
Well, I'd like to donate about 5 boxes of books. There are 77 in each to India to you know, distribute it amongst the hospitals where they do dialysis. Let people, give them an insight as to what's happening and how they can really survive and take advantage of dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to think that it's the end of the world. It's not. Far from it.
Thank you.
And I've been back to India a couple of times. I went back in 81 and then in 91. I took my mother the second time. Because there were certain sites that I didn't see as a boy, like the Taj Mahal in Agra.
And you speak a little bit Hindi.